Hi guys, today is the 9th of May 2019 at 24 minutes past 4 in the afternoon over here in the UK. And just three reports to get to and then a quick analysis. Iran threatens uranium enrichment as it pulls out of parts of the 2015 nuclear deal. So as you guys are aware, last year Donald Trump pulled the US out of the Iran nuclear deal, and that left the European signatories of Germany, France, Britain, and the other signatories, China and Russia, holding up the deal. A year later, Donald Trump has decided that he's no longer going to extend waivers on the sanctions for Iran's oil. So in response, Iran is saying that it is going to pull out of some of its commitments under the 2015 international nuclear deal. They've given the world 6 months to come up with something to save this agreement. If not, then Iran will pull out completely and go back to full enrichment, looking for that nuclear weapon, if they haven't got it already, which I firmly believe that they do. Obviously, at the same time, the US is sending over B-52 bombers, the Abraham Lincoln. They've already got several airstrike carriers in the region as well, so the potential for war to kick off at any point is pretty high. And obviously, something that we've been looking out for in connection with all of that is Iran blocking the Strait of Hormuz, that leading to the global oil supply slowing down, the prices increasing, and the stock market plunging. So all of that is on watch. North Korea, they recently launched a ballistic missile. So now they've launched another one. So this makes two within the space of a week. North Korea has fired two short-range ballistic missiles on Thursday in its second weapons test, or maybe that makes it three missiles if they did two on Thursday and one before. One missile traveled 260 miles and the other 170 miles in an easterly direction after being launched from a site northwest of the North's capital, Pyongyang. The South's Joint Chiefs of Staff confirmed in a statement. The launch marks an escalation from a test fire just 5 days ago of long-range multiple rocket launchers and another short-range ballistic missile resembling a Russian 9K-720 Iskander. Now, obviously, we know that the peace negotiations between North Korea, according to the IPEC Go 2 video, are destined to fall apart. It will be South Korea that's still trying to push for the peace talks, but North Korea and China will eventually abandon the peace talks. And as I talk about China, the trade talks are collapsing at the moment due to Donald Trump tweeting out a threat of increasing sanctions on already existing products and putting sanctions on more products, basically sanctioning everything the Chinese send to the United States. A very bold and a risky maneuver, considering the stock market plunges we saw last year were heavily connected to what was going on with China and the United States in terms of the trade talks. So if it comes to the point where China just walks away from the agreement, such as in a similar way that North Korea walked away from the peace talks, then we could see a combination effect happening, the oil affecting the prices and the stock market, and also the Chinese trade talks affecting the stock market. And there's many other things that could affect the stock market, but those two are pretty big. Obviously, situations in Venezuela not going too well. Potential for military intervention, which is really an invasion in the Venezuelan region from the United States. According to John Bolton, Iran has troops on the ground, which I do believe. We know that Russia has fighter jets and bombers there, as well as troops on the ground, and China has some pretty strong interests in Venezuela as well. Not sure if they've also got troops on the ground, but as I said, Venezuela is not very far from the United States, so if anything was to kick off in terms of a world war, having Chinese, Russian, and Iranian troops and military assets not too far from the United States mainland would be a troubling thing, especially if you're an American. So in response to North Korea launching two, we're not sure exactly what missiles they were. They could be ballistic. Most likely they are. The US conducts a missile test of its own just 10 minutes after North Korea's latest missile launch. What does it say? The US military conducted its own missile test just 10 minutes later. North Korea's latest test occurred today, or that was yesterday, I believe. No, actually today, yeah. 4:30 p.m. local time, 3:30 a.m. Eastern. So obviously most of us would have been sleeping during that time. I know I was. That would be 8 o'clock in the morning, which if I didn't go to sleep at 5 o'clock in the morning, I probably would have been awake to report this a little bit earlier. But as you can see, the situation's not very good. North Korea collapsing, well, the North Korea talks collapsing, the China talks collapsing, the potential for Venezuela um, war or invasion. Russia, obviously, as I've mentioned before, launching their submarine that can carry the Poseidon. Tensions always between India and Pakistan. The royal baby now being born. And in relation to that, I do believe, along with JK Bug that this does signify birth. The way she drops the apple down her virgin white dress just appears to have some connections to birth. Now, the baby was born on May 5th, so I'm not sure if we can actually use these characters as date markers. But I do find it interesting that we have the M over here created by the arms and the legs, which could relate to a month. If it's a month, then March has passed, so we're in May. The girl with the birth kind of sits right in the middle, which I'm just kind of taking a kind of guess here from these three figures, the one on the end here, the one over here, and the one here. A May reference, possibly middle of May reference, possibly, which could be the 15th, which could be marked over here. Putting that to a side for a second, I wanted to. Oops, I have to. What did I just do? Sorry. Okay, I'll just bring it back. Sorry about that. So let's get back to where I was. No sound, please. Okay, so just here. So this is the point I just wanted to bring it to. When she drops the apple, it rolls across the ground 7 times. Now I believe that 7 roll is a 7 something count. Whether that's 7 days, 7 months, 7 years, I'm not sure. But considering the baby was just born, it could be a 7-day reference. So I'm given a warning for around the 12th of May, which may be reinforced with the seeds in the middle of the apple, where you've got 1 on one side and 2 on the other. Could be a possible connection to 12 or 21 backwards. We've already looked at that extensively. It's possible also that we could be looking around the 13th, 1 without a seed and 3 with seed, so 1 and 3. Either way, just keep an eye out around the 12th and the 13th for any volcanic eruptions, tsunami type events. Even as I go back to the figures, and we have the M here, he's in between these two characters which are joined together. So again, that kind of gives me a suggestion of the middle of the month. And if it is a month beginning with M, then the only month left in the year of the pig would be May, which we're currently in. So if that is a signifier of the middle of May for the tsunami, then that would be around the 15th. As I said, considering the seven count, and we have 7 on the ground here, it may be that we're looking at the 12th, which if you're looking at this as an L, that does signify the number 12 numerically in association with the alphabet. The L has gone dark, so it may suggest that the 12th passes, and we're then on to the 13th, where we have the volcanic eruption and the tsunami. Again, I've mentioned before that we have a possible reference to an X and a 7 or a 1-7. In fact, let me just bring that up because some of you may not have seen it. So you can see how the shadow of the leaf goes through. It could make an X or it could make a 1. Either way, an X and a 7 or a 1 and a 7 both equal 17. That is the day before the royal wedding, where the royal family will be attending the ceremony at St. George's Chapel, which again could have something happen there, and that could be, connected to what we're seeing here. Obviously, I hope nothing like this happens. When I do these analysis, I know some people think that I'm hoping that these things happen, or I'm trying to predict the future. This is not prediction for me. This is someone has made this video, or someone's have made this video, and it's clear that there's something unusual about it. It's a 7-minute something video originally. It had no royalties. It was just released online for free. If you think about the amount of work that went into this video, you would expect there'd be some kind of financial reimbursement for the efforts of the people that were involved in creating it. But there is none. So for that reason alone, it makes it pretty suspicious. But then when you start to actually break down what the symbols, the images, and the motions could actually mean, you're kind of left with something far more sinister. And as I said, I hope these things don't happen, and I pray these things don't happen. But I don't think it's a good idea to blind yourself to the potentials of these things happening. Obviously, there are people who are paid hundreds of thousands of pounds, dollars, whatever, to do things like this. Not obviously analyze videos and come up with interpretations, but they actually analyze world events and come up with disaster management. And that's where we have a lot of different scenarios um, that have been viewed by the government as potential events that could unfold. So this is kind of a similar thing, kind of like disaster management, but through analysis and interpretation. Correct or incorrect, it's just me trying to help. So you guys, that's the end of my video. Have a good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and may the Heavenly Father bless you.